Hello class, today we are looking at conspiracy theories by way of several people. So one person that I had to focus on in terms of watching a video of his is Cass Sunstein, and then we're also looking at a book review by Simon Blackburn, and his book review is of the book Conspiracy Theories by Kassem Kassem. So we're juggling a few names and ideas here, and then also recognizing that when we're looking at conspiracy theories, we're also recognizing that conspiracy theories are ways in which we're understanding truth, likewise facts, likewise misinformation, and problem with understanding facts, and then also epistemology as well. So conspiracy theories are deeply epistemological. So right as we were going into lockdown back in 2020, early 2020, I wrote down some ideas that are related to conspiracy theories as well. So we cannot, as a rule, personally and empirically affirm everything that we believe. B, power and the desire for power is a way in which we affirm the truth of conspiracies. That could be part of it too, it's linked to power. C, there are conspiracies that are in fact true, so not all conspiracies are false. D, contrary to popular belief, we are never simply working, thinking, and acting with facts alone. Facts always have relationships to other things and relations. Facts also are a way we rely on the beliefs as we pointed out with A. In other words, that we can't completely affirm everything that we know 100%. And then E, we also have the most important feature of knowledge acquisition. In other words, conspiracy theories are related to skepticism, and skepticism is not a bad word. It's extremely useful, especially in terms of philosophy, yet it's also a valuable tool for misinformation and sowing distrust. So skepticism has a good and bad side as well. And then also too, another way we could talk about conspiracy theories that's important that we don't always recognize is the way in which we're paying attention to freedom as well. And so freedom is not always a good thing. That is, expressions of immorality are also linked to a desire to be free, to inflict harm on others, spread disinformation, confusion, so on and so forth. So people openly feel that they are free to hate others, for example. And also immorality or evil is an expression of freedom. And that's something that we don't always recognize about freedom either. And likewise the truth, or likewise facts. So with Cass Sunstein, we have three ways in which we are looking at conspiracy theories that are important. So number one, a conspiracy theory serves as an outlet for, in other words, if people have experienced a traumatic event, for example, we want to find an outlet for the rage or problem we have with what happened that goes beyond what we could feasibly explain. Then we could also, as Cass Sunstein points out, secondly, identify conspiracy theories as a way in which we are looking at social networks, specifically social media, that is linked to like-minded people who enhance the radical and extreme nature of the ideas that we are already thinking of or that other people are bringing to us. And this is what he refers to as a type of echo chamber. And a correction of these ideas only serves to enhance the viability of the conspiracy in terms of an amplification of what we already believed or what we've been told. And then 3, if you believe in a false conspiracy to begin with, it's likely that you'll believe in other conspiracy theories as well. So there's this threefold way in which we're understanding conspiracy theories. We're also seeing it linked to freedom. We're seeing it linked to the way in which we have problems understanding facts in general. And then also ways in which we're understanding truth, and it's epistemological. So going to Simon Blackburn's review of Kassem-Kassem's book, Conspiracy Theories, Kassem is a British philosopher born in 1961, and according to Blackburn's book review, and by the way, Blackburn is also a famous philosopher in his own right, otherwise known as a quasi-realist. And so when we're looking at conspiracy theories, according to Kassem, number 1, they are speculative. In other words, they could be free-floating of evidence. Number 2, they could also have elements of being contrarian. In other words, contrary to obvious explanations of how things are understood. They could also, 3, be esoteric. In other words, contain large-scale mysteries that are unexplainable, that sort of thing. Also, 2, conspiracy theories can be amateurish. In other words, claimed by non-specialists in particular fields. And then also 2, they could be thought of as pre-modern. And in other words, they're echoing religious or mythological explanations, that sort of thing, of how things are. Because we're also remembering that even in a mythological sense, when we rely on myths to explain how something is understood, we also need to recognize that that's the way people explain things with the lack of any other way of explaining something. And then lastly, or number 6, conspiracy theories can be thought of as self-sealing. In other words, everything happens for a reason in terms of a connection, and there's perhaps circular reasoning, that sort of thing. And so Kassem's succinct in his appraisal of conspiracy theories as basically a form of political propaganda, that the response to them also tends to be political as well. And again, we can think of conspiracy theories that are not necessarily political either, but still that's one way to at least gear our understanding of how conspiracy theories are working. In other words, they could be propagandistic, in other words, a mean of publicizing a biased point of view, often for political aims. And so then there's the strong a strong appeal to emotions as well, as a mean of persuasion, in terms of anger, discontentment, disenfranchisement, someone is getting wronged somehow. And also, too, remember that an emotional appeal is a way to get someone to see your point of view as well. So it's a rhetorical device. And then, so still, our Blackburn considers that the notion that Kassem is suggesting that the way to challenge a conspiracy theorist is to call them out or just outright embarrass them. So yet he has an open question, as Blackburn asks, will the Proud Boys be shamed by embarrassment with the claim that Hillary Clinton was running a pedophile ring out of a pizza parlor in New Jersey? Probably not. So this is an idea that Kassem had, that perhaps you should embarrass the conspiracy theorist, but then is the conspiracy theorist also subject to be hurt by this embarrassment? And Blackburn is thinking, perhaps not. One problem, as Blackburn points out, is to suggest that conspiracy theories are really a way for people to seem more intelligent than they really are as well. So it could be a way in which we're putting up this front of how it is that things are understood, when actually that's not how the thing is understood, and also too, a way of perhaps gaining power, whether that be political power, so on and so forth. Or just getting your voice heard, or likewise spreading misinformation just for the sake of it. And likewise, likewise, are conspiracy theories always politically motivated, right? Probably not. So in other words, is Bill Gates injecting microchips into the COVID-19 vaccine politically motivated? We don't really know, and to what degree is that having to do with politics? We're not sure. So Blackburn suggests that instead of embarrassing the conspiracy theorist, it isn't as good as Aristotle's notion of practicing virtue habitually, i.e., if we're prone to be more trustworthy if we are doing so in our day-to-day life, in other words, making a habit of being virtuous, then we might be more inclined to be more trustworthy, because the issue of trust is always front and center of how it is that we're understanding how it is that people are falling into the trap of believing in conspiracy theories to begin with, because they're basically suggesting that oftentimes people are untrustworthy, right? Never mind the conspiracy theorists themselves. So that could be a problem with like Alex Jones, that sort of thing. So then Blackburn also reminds us of the trusty empiricist David Hume, who had a way in which we dispel miracles, at least back in the 18th century. So, i.e., if you ever hear a way in which we think of miracles, for example, or a story that is unclear, here are three ways in which you could work to dispel the claim of a miracle or / conspiracy. Number one, are the events in the story actually likely to have taken place? Do they confirm a basic understanding of how things are in the world? And oftentimes that's the case with the conspiracy theory, is that they don't. And then number two, is the story itself what you would expect to hear if the events had happened as described? And again, there are places where we could see conspiracy theories as dubious, but then also too, remember that there still are conspiracy theories that are true, in fact true. And then three, what are other explanations that could be the case in terms of how the story is realistically understood to begin with, and how probable are other explanations. So that's a way in which Hume is working out how it is that we're dispelling miracles, which also traverses into calling into question conspiracy theories in our day and age. Then there's few other rules of thumb to consider. So number one, people are untrustworthy and also make mistakes in their understanding of things. People are also just flat out dishonest. Likewise, people like to fool other people or to confuse others. Likewise, people also fall victim to self-deception in terms of what they believe in, even just aside from conspiracy theories to begin with. People are prone to believe whatever they want to believe on a whim, according to Blackburn as well. And so as Blackburn concludes and goes back to recredit Cassim, to appeal to emotion of the conspiracy theorist doesn't seem like such a bad idea after all. In other words, emotions do get us moving, and they are appeals to how it is that we're convincing ourselves of the conspiracy theory to begin with, and likewise a way in which we could dispel the conspiracy theorist as well, or to prove them as wrong, and etc. So while also paying close attention to the perils of aimless skepticism, and likewise working at our own ethical framework in order to just simply be more trustworthy. And I think that's a really good takeaway to end this segment on conspiracy theories. And so thank you, Kasim Kasim, Simon Blackburn, and also Cass Sunstein. And we'll talk more about this in class.